Welcome to the PIC preliminaries. This is the third session of three. That's the third number in the alphabet, just in case you don't get my accent. And you're very welcome to join us. We're going to just give you a few preliminary logistics, and then we'll get into the pitches themselves. So first off, the rules. You've 3 minutes to pitch. We have 3 dragons. I think they're all here today, which is great. And you've already submitted 3 slides to us, which we'll show on your behalf. You can just ask us to move on to the next slide. This is the team that is behind the scenes, so to speak. Our 3 dragons are Tommaso Rossi, Veronika Skaya, and Peter Reynolds. Welcome, dragons. They're sitting there in their caves waiting to ask you a question. And I'm joined by Marina Pancheva. Marina.
Hello. Marina's hyper multitasking. So Dave, just continue.
Good stuff. Keeping ourselves busy.
Yes,
So
exactly.
this is today's order. Hopefully that's not a shock to everyone. We may do an order change. Marina, is that correct?
Yes, if I can ask Jane to pay attention to the messages in the chat that I'm sending because we need to resolve a tiny technical issue. So Jane, please get back to me in the chat. Thanks.
There you are. Call out for someone to move their car. It's like being at a bar. Someone's parked their car in the wrong place. So Jane, yeah, if you could, that'd be great. Thanks. So otherwise, we'll start with Nicole, and we'll move through this order. So without further ado, let's get the show on the road. Good luck to all the innovators. Thank you for joining the PIC. And Nicole, can we ask you to join the stage?
Yes. How do I do this?
Are you looking forward to
it? I'm in the meeting. Is that enough?
Yeah,
Or what do
I
you mean
know.
join the stage?
Yeah, you've joined the stage. That's
Okay,
perfect.
sorry, I didn't understand. Okay, sorry about that. Hello, everyone. I'm Nicole Michel from Smartling, representing Smartling today, and I'm going to talk to you about a problem that affects every localization team today that works across markets with a shared language and the solution we have been deploying to fix this problem. So please go to the next slide. Thank you. So we've all heard about the phrase lost in translation, but what about being fluent and still getting it wrong? So for example, pants, means trousers in the UK, but pants is pants in the US, but we use different words in the UK. Same for tongs in Australia, it's flip-flops in the US, has a bit of a different meaning. And for German, for example, whipped cream has three different words, depending if you are speaking to your user in Germany, Austria, or Switzerland. So this is the local adaptation problem. So same language, but the same words can really cause confusion or even annoyance for the regional audience. Okay, you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So we've built a new solution because the current solutions like static rule-based systems, maybe you're familiar with PromptScript, there's others, or machine translation engine, or even using a translation prompt with an LLM, they don't really work well for this use case. Either they're too limited, they're lacking context, or they're overcorrecting. So we designed and tested a multi-step LLM-based system to try to tackle this. So first we're using prompt tuning, so giving the LLM very specific instructions to behave differently based on the adaptation use case. Then we've also built a library of local-specific rules. They are AI generated from open source data, and these are then fed into the system at translation time, along with glossary terms if they are available in the client glossaries for this locale pair, and also translation example from their translation memory. And also, all these rules, they are reviewed and validated by linguists, of course. So this is still in the research and validation phase for now, but early results are very promising. You can go to the last slide. Thank you. So far, our hypothesis has held up. So the LLM-based system we built outperformed both baseline approaches we tested against. For a handful of locale pair we tested, spanning European, Middle Eastern, and South Asian languages. And we measured the quality in terms of the minimal necessary change rate. So we measured how many changes were made and how many were necessary. And the next steps are taking this proven concept to product and then expanding role coverage and building in client feedback loops. Thank you so much.
Sorry about that. Excellent. Great job, Nicole. Really nice job. Great on time. You would have been better on time if I didn't mute myself. Uh, let's see if we have a question from one of the dragons. Let's go to Veronique.
Hi, Nicole. Great solution. Thank you. A quick one.
Hi, thank
So when you are, how do you make sure that the content remains really truly authentic, right, to each dialect, especially since, and it's not a great sounding guess, let's say, especially if you have to use, to some extent, synthetic data. Can you take us through that?
So that's where these locale-specific rules come in that we are building together, based on open source data, but we're building them together with linguists. Yes, we need definitely working with native speakers from this market. And then I guess the adaptation prompt will be refined on customer feedback as well over time to make sure we are capturing these nuances. We have to start somewhere and then we hope to improve over time based on this feedback loop that we're building. But we are hoping not to have to use a lot of synthetic data, but real data. Yes.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole. That was super interesting. An area I'm personally very interested in. Thank you very much. Now, let's move to the next innovator. And I'm going to surprise Mathijs because we have a little issue with Jane's slides. And it would be good if Jane can come at the end and actually present her own slides. So let's then jump over, Jane, if you don't mind. We want to give you the opportunity to present the slides you want to present. And have Mathijs join the stage preliminarily, but I'm sure he's ready. He's always cool, and talk about native content editing. Are you there, Mathijs, or are you still making your coffee?
Here.
Okay.
Thank you,
Great
Marina.
to have you here.
So most innovation in localization today is only focused on making translation faster and cheaper. And the way we make it better is very cumbersome. Localization systems don't learn, and teaching them is very resource intensive. Next slide, please. Think about the real world. A marketer updates SEO keywords. Legal fixes a compliance issue. A local team corrects a bad translation. And these changes happen everywhere, and for good reason. But none of them make it back into the system that produced the translation. So what happens? This knowledge is lost. We fix the same mistakes again and again. Or worse, your localization system overrides these good changes. It's like using autocorrect that never learns from what you type. You correct the same words every day and it never improves. That's exactly how localization feels like. And we've made translation fast, but if the system doesn't learn, it doesn't get better. Next slide, please. So we approached the problem differently. The innovation in 2 sentences. Someone edits translated content in the system it's delivered in. The localization system picks up that change and improves. No matter how content is translated, AI, NMT, human, cat, monkey, instantly through complex workflows or by carrier pigeon, any edit anywhere actually becomes structured learning. And that's what native content editing enables, because the system understands what kind of improvement it is. A keyword change updates terminology, a legal fix corrects meaning, a tone edit refines style, and a one-off correction is actually remembered. So edits don't fix the content, they train the system. You use AI just to translate now, deliver and never look back. But native content editing allows you to use AI to process the feedback. And so that instead of losing knowledge, the system captures and improves. This is how modern systems should work. Like autocomplete, every correction makes the next result better. Now apply that to your entire localization stack. No lost corrections, no repeated mistakes, no request for changes, just do it. Last slide, please. For localization teams, what this unlocks is simple. You stop fixing the same problems twice. Instead of losing knowledge, you improve continuously. Every correction makes future output better across teams, tools, and even AI agents. And make no mistake, this is a very radical disruption to how most people perceive the traditional localization process. We want localization experts to not be bothered by projects, jobs, and requests, but by governing brand consistency and linguistic nuances. And for other content users, it all feels a lot more seamless. As one of our customers puts it, this is what other people would think localization to be like. Localization stops being something you manage, and it becomes something that improves itself, a system that gets better every time you touch it.
Wow. You didn't even allow me, Matthias, to show you this. Excellent. Really good. I like the carrier pigeon bit. How's that integration coming along? Is that advanced
Well,
state?
we're called
Yeah.
Blackbird, so maybe we always started with carrier pigeons.
Excellent. Good comeback. Let's take a question. Peter?
Matthias, was a great presentation. Thank you. How are you going to commercialize this? How do people get to use it if they're interested?
Become a Blackbird customer. This is basically, so yeah, that's a short answer. Long answer is this is basically part of our product. Of course, you all know we have launched Blacklake. Blacklake is the underlying technology that allows us to do all this, but it's really because we are redefining the way we approach data and like quote unquote TM in language, and we're saving so much more context, and that allows us to actually build workflows like this where you can actually edit context and improve your original assets, and that's like a step that's never been done before.
And is somebody using it, and what sort of feedback have you got?
Yeah. So, well, like I put in the presentation, the most awesome bit of feedback was like, this is how people that are non-localization experts thought it would happen all along, which first thought was like, oh, that's weird. Oh, that's actually good feedback. It's actually highly interesting. Right now, we indeed have customers who are doing this. They have like everything integrated and they are actually receiving their edits back. It's mostly right now localization teams themselves actually editing the content in the CMSs where the content lives. And then indeed also, of course, governing the asset changes. So they always govern like, okay, it suggests like a change to, for example, terminology, and they have to approve it. But that's like a risk appetite that you can solve. And then they are looking to extend that feature to other teams to let other teams make changes to it.
Thank you. You never disappoint. That was super interesting. Thanks,
Thank you,
Mathijs. Sounded like something from the future. And now let's move to something that like even more sounds like coming from the future. I'm very happy to invite Akash Nidhi, who is going to talk about visual agents who are browsing your web pages and they can see.
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah. I'm Akash. I'm the co-founder at Vitra.ai. So today I want to talk about autonomous visual agents for localization. AI agents that see, reason, and act inside the tools that we already use, not as a API call, but as a coworker using the browser. Next slide, please. Yeah. So localization QA today is still manual browser work. The loop is always the same. A linguist logs into a translation platform, finds a project, opens each line items, checks the translation. But here's the catch. The context never lies in one place. For a video, the linguist has to watch the video and checks whether each dubbed dialogue actually fits the scene. For an image, they have to look at the image and check the placement, layout, whether the translated text even fits where it needs to go. For a website, it is even more complex. The same string appears on different pages in different sections with different surrounding content. Imagine 200 words can look perfect in a spreadsheet, but completely wrong the moment you see them in context. This is where the real problem shows up. And today, that contextual checking across tabs, tools, formats is still 100% manual. So that's where we are automating that part of the workflow. Next slide. Yeah, this is our solution, a visual agent that does the work for you. You configure it once, hundreds of URLs, hundreds of language in one run. Imagine a website with 1,000 URLs going live in 30 languages. You set it up once, the agent handles the rest. For every URL in every language, it logs in, opens the live site, checks the layout, compares the translation against the context, corrects it, verifies it, publishes it, and updates your translation memory. Authentication, navigation, cross-reference, correction, verification, done fully autonomously. This is our solution. Next slide. But this is not a one agent doing one trick. It's a platform. It's a project. It has a product registry where you can register any of the web applications that you use today. Today, we have configured for 3 of our websites, translate website, translate photo, and translate video. You can configure any of the other tools as well. It has a workflow manager, agents, skills, and everything built in. So you can train them with just your normal workflow, and you can set up these agents. Everything sits within Vetra Universe, our multilingual visual agentic OS. Thank you. Yeah.
Great job, Akash.
Yeah.
Really interesting stuff. Let's see if we have a question for you from one of the dragons. Tommaso, do you have a question for Akash?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Hi, Akash. Thank you so much for
Hi.
this presentation. This is, as Marina said, really the future, and it's very interesting. Thank you for this. I might have like a million questions, but let me just narrow it down to a couple. First of all, you mentioned all languages. So does
Yeah.
this cover all possible language pairs?
Yeah. So the platform is this is built on top layer. So you can configure DeepL, Gemini, any of the routers. So we have provided, like, say, Phrase. Now Phrase has launched Agentic, I mean, a lot of AI, which covers almost 180 languages, right? So you can cover all those languages. This sits on top of that. So you can plug in DeepL, Phrase, or let's say Lara, any translation. RWS is launching new thing. I saw that.
Right.
So you can plug in any of those translation layer. This can sit on top of that.
Understood. And
Yeah.
I'm assuming that so what you're saying is that I can choose what LLM I can use to run
Yeah.
the evaluation.
Yeah.
Do you provide a suggestion or advice if necessary, or do
Yeah.
we have to choose our own?
So by default, everything is configured based on our experience and our understanding, but we give that advanced setting to our customers if they have any specific preferences. If someone says that, hey, German, I need DeepL, you're good to go. I mean, it's not stopping them from using our solution.
Right. Now, some literature and studies show that for some, let's say, less common languages in the business, the LLMs might not have a very prepared and reliable output. How are you prepared for that challenge?
So what we are trying to do is, let's say, for example, I'll just take some random example from Indian language. There's a language called Tulu, which doesn't have any much literature. So what we are doing is, when you can use the normal NMT for that translation, okay, and you can give the LLM as a judge that this is what the translation is, this is what my NMT scores are, and then you can ask it to evaluate with the context that it sees. Do you think this fits within that let's say, image or a video or a website? So that is what it is doing today.
Thank you.
Understood.
So that's how we can approach
Thank you.
that.
I think we need to
Thanks.
move on to the
Yeah.
next innovator. Thank you very much. No, the discussion is amazing. I could spend also hours talking about that, but we have the next innovation that I am really, it makes me feel so nice because it is for non-profit purposes, helping, using AI to help multilingual access to educational materials. What can be better than that? So let me invite Jiyan Wu to the stage to talk about LocClaw.
Okay, thank you, Marina. Can you hear me? Is my sound clear?
Yes, yes.
Okay, let me start. Hi everyone, I'm GM from Scientific. Today, I present our AI localization agent designed for students and communities who need the multilingual access. Next page, please. Okay, on the left part is what most people use today, the single pass AI translation. You provide the source text, and it sends you the output. No self-improvement and no continuous learning. On the right part is our agentic localization. It works as a cycle, not a straight line. Before translating, it retrieves terminology and past translations. Then it generates a first version quickly and refines by a improvement and evaluate loop. The user will receive both versions along with a clear comparison, what changed, which resources applied, and why the refined version is stronger. Next page, please. And here's what happens inside this agent. When a student sends out the content, it searches for the style guide, term base, and translation memory. So it has the correct context before the translation starts. And this agent reviews its own output by checking the accuracy, fluency, and the term correctness to continuously to do the refinement. If the quality is not good enough, it loops and tries again. And if one translation is accepted, it will be stored in memory. The localization knowledge grows with every iteration like this. Next page, please. So in practice, how can the students use our localization agent? They don't need to install anything new in their computer or mobile. This agent can be called through the popular messaging apps like Telegram, WhatsApp, and Teams. Right part is a real example. A student drops a lecture note into Telegram with 2 words, to Spanish. And this agent finds the matching terms, reuses memorized translations, and sends back a Word document, which is ready for the student to study. And the key part is, our agent learns the student's preferred style, personal glossary, and academic terms. As all the translations accumulate, it feels like a study partner that understands your course and also your progress. So in conclusion, we bring the agentic workflow, terminology control, and the continuous learning into a lightweight tool built for the students and communities who need the multilingual access. Yeah, thank you.
Great job. GN, great to see you back on the PIC platform as well.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. Thank you.
Really interesting to see this one. Let's ask the dragons what they think. Veronique, do you have a question?
Yeah, great presentation and also fantastic use case. So the solution, it targets, let's say, cost-sensitive population, that's students and nonprofits. So how do you keep the quality high and your cost very low, right? Because that solution could be replicated by commercial tools. So how do you make that happen, this balance between keeping the cost low but the quality high?
Okay, so this is a very good question. So yeah, first our target user is the student. So we try to, for example, in terms of large language model, we try to use our, for example, the open source language models like the Mistral, Quinn, or Loom. Only, for example, let's say if the educational institute, they provide the services with high priority. In that case, for example, we may consider using a heavyweight model to do this. That means, for example, for the common users, we provide those language models, for example, which is just consider a lightweight one to generate the targeted translation. But for the, for example, those prioritized users, then we consider, for example, building a more complex workflow and using a heavyweight model to do the high quality translation. So this is like, we can consider it's like the different service levels. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Again, great answer, because that you can really kind of balance that depending on the needs and just calibrate. Excellent. Thank you so much. Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And while we're still on the topic of agents, we will continue with some more agentic AI presented by David from Loom. who is going to talk about a multi-surface agent framework. Very interesting.
Thank you. So, hi, yes. Today I'm here to talk about Bloxweaver Loom, which is our multi-surface agent framework for content ops and everything in between. So next slide, please. Last year, we presented another agent based on our Loom framework, which was our glossary agent. And really, when we build agents, we built our own framework, so we had total control on what they can do, and that we have a kind of natural reinforcement learning environment because we get the data out of it. But it was in one place, it ran on our platform, whilst it had access to our tools and data within the system, it was in one surface, really, online in the system. You could schedule it or run it. This year, we've kind of made them first class citizens of Bloxweaver, and they go everywhere. Next slide, please. So if I was to think about a day in the life with Loom, different parts of the day, different challenges come up, and that's where these different surfaces come. It may be that morning check-in, where I want to see what's happened overnight. That could be scheduled, a nice Slack message in the morning. Could be me asking natural language questions. No dashboard to dig through, no emails to parse. I can chat and follow up with things. Midway through the morning, I might get a big load of files from someone. Maybe the marketing team has sent me a load of content. Mixed formats, no metadata, important content missing. I need to get through that content, work out what's there, track it, upload it, find the wood for the trees. And my own machine agent can help me do that. It could be a software release that's come in. I don't even have to worry about it. The platform's already extracted the content, built context from the platform, maybe taken some screenshots or pulled out context from other bits of the system, done a quick MT pass and made that available so the team can test a UI. And it's also looking at terminology issues that's found and can ask clarification questions on the PR. It could also be content triggering from our pipes orchestration engine. That bit of content published in Contentful triggering a chain where Loom can go create new content and make it available in other platforms, making sure it's relevant by looking at ERP data. Or it could be something within the platform. Translator notices an error, they can ask some questions, find that clarification, and go make that applied over the rest of the content. Next slide, please. So this isn't a kind of world we want to build, it's the world we live in today, and Loom is at the center of allowing our small team to deliver thousands and thousands of projects for our customers. It's built on one framework that we make available in every surface. So it's in our chat, it's on the CLI, it's in the cloud. I can pull sessions between cloud and online. It's even in production UIs, whether that's our online platform. We have an agent retiming content in Adobe After Effects and Adobe Premiere. It's composable. We can have agents called pipelines, pipelines call agents, and everything in between, giving that ability to have deterministic flows with intelligence weaved in. And we've made sure it's fully traceable, one, so we can build RL traces and kind of fine-tune the agents to do better, but also to meet the security guarantees and requirements that you need for enterprise customers. And in summary, it's really not a chatbot, which is what many agents are. It's a teammate that helps us deliver for both ourselves and our clients. Thank you very much.
Nice job, David. Very clear. And do you have agents for making coffee as well? I didn't see that one in this pitch.
Unfortunately, no. I have contemplated it, Dave, where I think I can access the API on my machine where I could go trigger it. So it's
talk later. We'll
potentially
talk
there.
later.
Yeah.
Let's see if the dragons have special requests. Tommaso, do you have a question for David?
Thank you, David. This is very impressive. It's quite interesting. In your first slide, you were defining a bunch of different events or things that you can do during the day. How do you pick that and if you have multiple options at the same time? Because that picture the sequence. If in multiple, can this run multiple things at the same time, or do we have to go one by one?
It can run multiple places at the same time. So if I think about how it's working today, so in our platform, we may be running agents on an event. So like your classic thing, something gets uploaded, an agent's running to do a particular task. Like that Contentful one, it could be a webhook from Contentful running through pipes. It's triggering a process. Some of these on machine ones, you may start, it'd be typically you get a big dump of files or a bit of content you want to work through. It's on machine. You're trying to do a particular task on it. I can also
Right.
then push that session up to the cloud. So it's really about whatever use case you need. And that's why we tried to build the flexibility, but we wanted one single framework so we could build good tools and things that could plug into the different environments, but be able to do different tasks, whether that's automated, things like the glossary agent run automatically, we don't trigger them. Things where I'm running a session locally, I would be triggering that. It'd be something on my machine like a Claude Code style type session that
Right.
you'd be running.
And you mentioned the fact that the agents can call the pipelines and the pipelines can call the agents. So in reality, how do you decide which part of the workflow should be handled by a pipeline or an agent? And
Normally that
if
would
it
be how it's come into Mathijs. So if you've got a pipeline running like what we'd call a pipe, like an orchestration, if that flow's running, it may need to call an agent, and then the agent can then start to live in its own world to decide what it needs to do next. Maybe that's just extract some context from the bit of content and upload it to the platform, and that's it, step done. It could be actually I need to go run a concordance search, or I need to trigger this agent that goes and calls off to a knowledge base. It can then call it itself. So it's either the agent deciding what tools, almost like a sub-agent that it needs to go do, or a pipeline knowing it needs to call an agent as that part of the step. And that's how you can deliver that mix of the two. You've got your structured step that then has a bit of freedom to go off. Whereas if you've got something that you don't really know what you want to do with, you can have an agent that then passes its journey to meet its objective, and then that may be calling a structured pipeline, or it may be calling another agent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm sure that your agent will be able to make a coffee for Tommaso that meets his high Italian standards. Pretty sure about that. But now let's move on to the next innovator. One of my favorite innovations, because it's taking away the hassle of setting up very complex workflows in your TMS. So Sara, please tell us more about that.
Thank you. Thank you indeed. So I would like to introduce to the person your platform was never designed for. Next slide, please. Meet August. Every morning, a batch of reports lands in his inbox. 40 pages, 4 languages. He knows the translation request portal exists. He also knows it will sit in a queue before someone sets up a project, selects a workflow, assigns resources, and then translation can begin. So instead, he opens a browser tab and pastes that document into an AI tool and hopes the confidentiality clause doesn't matter. August is not the exception. He's the majority. 80% of documents in the average organization bypass the localization platform, costing you quality, brand consistency, and data security. The real bottleneck here is not the translation, it's the friction of even getting it started. So we are rethinking that front door to localization. Most platforms are built for human orchestration because manual triage is generally hard. For example, is this a casual memo that AI can completely handle, or does this have cultural nuance that requires a human reviewer? We spend years encoding these decisions into rigid workflow templates, but automation falls short. Trying to map every if-then scenario turns 3 workflows into 3,000, and as content volumes increase, that kills scalability completely. Next slide. With XDM Express, we moved intelligence to the very first mile of localization. The moment a document arrives, the system it understands intent, complexity, and the risk profile. It then automatically selects the optimal translation strategy and deploys resources. For example, is this a low-risk content that can be translated instantly using AI? Is this content that requires higher quality and that can follow hybrid workflows? Or maybe complex or sensitive documents that should flow to human translation? You define the models, quality bar, budget, and risk tolerance, and XDM Express does the rest, self-optimizing from every outcome. So the human role here graduates from configuring workflows to setting the guardrails. And for the user, that front door to translation now becomes anywhere. XDM Express indeed is headless, so you can send a document from any platform. Next slide, please. And the data is clear. With XDM Express, we've seen a drop in document translation intake time from 15 minutes to just 60 seconds. When the barrier to entry is low, you now capture content that used to be translated in the shadows. It's not just an 80% jump in accuracy and consistency. We're finally building that complete picture of how we speak globally. With XDM Express, we've removed the friction of getting started. Translation no longer begins with workflow configuration. It finally begins with content itself. Thank you.
Wow, I didn't even have to show you this, Sarah. Great job.
No, you were waiting for it.
Yeah. So really good job as usual. Great. New front doors. Let's see if we have a question from the Dragons. Peter, do you have a question for Sarah?
Yeah, Sarah, was great presentation. Thank you very much. I'm just wondering, how do you deal with documentation and content that usually required more complex workflows? Or am I misunderstanding this? I'm seeing that you're being able to see whether this something can be automatically translated or whether it needs human translation or whatever. But what if they need more complex workflows?
Right. So that first decision, this is basically what the orchestration behind XTM Express would do. It all starts with this risk classification that happens at the beginning. So there are then two main possible outcomes from this orchestration. One is, okay, is this simple enough to go to AI direct workflows, like just LLM translation? Even if I say just, it's not just that. Or should this be escalated to a human in the loop, so more standard workflow? So this risk classification is basically combining three main things. So we have on one hand, the XTM Express platform, when the document is submitted, it looks at the structural analysis. So basically the file type, length, like formatting, density, or is it full of tables, headings, body text. So this already gives some indicators of the complexity of the content. There's also something about semantic classification. So the document is passed through some lightweight domain classifier that is able to identify the content type. So for example, is it regulatory, marketing, and so on. And then this risk scoring happens. So based on a domain classification first, and then eventually also a customer-defined risk matrix that could be defined by something like a globalization admin, then the system assigns a risk tier. So together, these signals determine the routing decision. And this is not a simple rule engine, because also worth noting that the classification layer learns from human overrides. So every time, for example, a human accepts, like escalates or downgrades this routing decision, then that signal feeds back into the model. So the platform is able to understand if this risk assessment basically got it wrong.
That was a great answer. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Now let's move on to our next innovator, a real PIC veteran. I don't know, Konstantin, has there been a PIC where you didn't participate in the pre-finals? I've certainly seen you in many finals, so you know the drill. Let's hear what you have to say to us about how languages help other languages get content translated and disambiguated.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll be talking about multi-source translation, how we accurately translate interface using existing translations. Can you go to the next one, please? All right, so we know AI makes mistakes in translation. Well, there's lots of people here. So what's the accurate translation of this word to your language? It depends, right? Click. So do we return a value? Do we return to the previous screen or returning an item? And without knowing that, you can translate it. And software UI is full string of strings like that, short, ambiguous, without context. Even human translators need weeks of onboarding to get this right. And click and get that click. So get the translation wrong, and to get the wrong kind of returns, you enter a new market, and localization takes so long so that all you see this here are costs, not returns. Or you acquire a company, and localization speed limits your return on that investment. You have no glossaries, no TMs, no onboarded translators. It's a new language, so the obvious move is to use AI, but to do things faster. But faster doesn't help. So we found a way to use context in a way that no human translator can do. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here's another one. Click. So traditionally, you resolve it with terminology databases, screenshots, documentation, all very manual, all very slow. But look at what you already have. Your existing German, French, Korean, Ukrainian translations actually embed context and user experience. They carry it with them. And in this case, what we can do, click, we can use what we call multi-source translation. Instead of translating from English alone, we feed LLM every existing translation from every language you already have. And that's not pivot translation. We do not route through one language and compound errors. We use all languages as parallel context. And click. So the system bootstrap glossaries using existing glossaries, then it uses all existing translations of a string plus glossaries for context to produce a new one. And then human review is still needed. It's very limited. It doesn't depend on the volume of the words you have. It's used to do some spot check and set up automatic post-editing. Next slide. And click. So let's check the results. We actually filed a patent for this technology. We've also applied it to few customer use cases. One of them was millions of words UI, 5 new locales, done in 3 months. And another one is 500,000 words of UI into 7 new locales within 6 weeks. And both involved spot checks from humans. The metrics we measured with in one of those projects that it requires 4 to 5 times less glossary edits and 3 to 5 times has 3 to 5 times less errors than NMT. Click. So basically today for you, every new local starts from scratch. And in fact, your existing translations hold the context and user experience and stuff like that, but they stay silent in each market. And we make every new language benefit from existing one. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Konstantin. Let's see if there's a question for you. Really nice job. Peter, do you have a question?
Yeah, Konstantin, it was a great presentation. Thank you. I saw that you're using some RAG functionality and you're using TMs and terminology. I'm wondering, have you looked at using other resources that maybe not non-traditional resources in this? And I'm wondering what's your sort of experimentation with that RAG layer?
In principle, you can use many things, and potentially you can use all things which translators use, right? You can pull screenshots and documentation, stuff like that, maybe even software code. But the reality is that that doesn't work in real life because you get dependent on a very specific CI/CD pipeline of this organization. This one thing. And second thing, many of these things will never be sent to localization team or an LLM. So that's the innovation, is that we extract this content from existing context from existing translations without having this context explicitly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Konstantin. Super excited about that. And now we've kept the best for last. We have Jane with her slides. So Jane, I would like to ask you to pull them up, share your screen, and show the slides, as we couldn't integrate them into the slide deck.
Yeah, Marina, thank you. And actually, Aziz is on the call, who's a colleague of mine, and he is going to be presenting. Apologies, because I'm traveling. Hang on.
Okay.
Yes.
So then it's Aziz sharing slides.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Can you give me access to share my screen?
Yes. Jefferson, can you make Aziz co-host?
He is co-host.
Yes, got it. Thank you. Sharing my screen. Yes. Hello, everyone. Today, I will show you how agentic in-video text localization works with the After Effects and the media assets. So today, every content becoming more and more video, but videos including inside text for marketing purposes or the educational purposes. But translating, localizing those texts inside the video is a challenge because it's breaking the languages. For example, German expands 30% the language length, but the video has a very limited space where we are moving some objects all around, and the other format blocking for example, After Effects, Premiere, how to edit all those formats, localize those formats. And for customers using videographer, motion designers to edit one language to another, but it's causing so much monetary effort, time effort, and that is the huge problem to edit the texts inside the video elements and localizing them. That started with the problem with the real customers that we are working with. And then as solution, we are applying in-video text localization. And how that works, we apply video and scene understanding with the multimodal agentic structures to capture what is going on to the video, how the text comes, and then applying image to image and image to video models to recreate the video if Adobe After Effects file didn't provide. If Adobe After Effects file provide, the system understands the structure of the Adobe After Effects text placements and then apply localizations on top of it and re-render on the cloud and deliver back to the user. So end user doesn't need to use any Adobe After Effects program. They are just using inside the all-length platform. And now it's 10x faster. We are supporting all the 240 languages, and they reduce their cost 90% because usually those marketing videos, maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and it includes 2 or 3 words. So 3 words translation, the localizing part is easy, but the structure, keeping the same animations intact, that is the most costly and time effort part. And zero re-edit, no need to open the After Effects projects inside the all length with just prompting. I can guide the model to change the translation and see in a quick action. So on the left, top part is the original English animation After Effects file with the custom font style. And when we apply, the customer just bringing their After Effects file to the all-length platform and getting that French, Hindi, Japanese, all those languages output and keeping the structure. So system automatically apply font size changes or applying the how to differentiate the words, adjusting them to making sure inside the video I am getting the localized version without any hassle of the third-party video editing programs. And now they can use either a production or they are able to bring their human-in-the-loop components to edit the output by prompting right inside the all-length platform. Thank you for listening. I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Aziz and Jane. Good to see you here. Let's take a question from a dragon. Tommaso, do you have a question for Aziz?
I do, more than one. Thank you, Aziz, so much for this. Is very, very interesting. Well, the first question that comes into my mind is how does this handle the significant difference that the multiple different languages represent in terms of length and space? The localizing English into French or Greek or German or Finnish requires different space. Does this detect the space available? And you said you adjust the fonts potentially?
Yes, maybe I can quickly come back and explain that. So it's reconstructs the behind the text region. So how can I explain, maybe coming from the problem, because it breaks the lengths and the character counts. Maybe in the video I have very limited space. For example, in that examples, the font size shrinked a little bit, but sometimes if we over shrink it, then user cannot see it. So there we have automatic limits, thresholds. And if it's not fitting with that threshold, it's paraphrasing without sacrificing the content meaning to adjust the limited space in certain language. So at the end, the system getting the correctly placed part. Of course, there are some edge cases where very complex animations might not fit well, but then human in the loop parts can say that, okay, I want to adjust the translation in that way and guide the AI. And then behind the scenes on the cloud, the Adobe After Effects rendering triggers and completes again.
Fantastic. If I may very quickly, one other, because this is fascinating.
Quickly, yes.
Thank you. The image, the example that you showed was a very good one, although the text is static. And what happens if the text is actually following the movement and the image?
Yeah, in our example, I use the Adobe After Effects file. So in Adobe
Right.
After Effects file, all the animations applied into the text. So it captures, extracts the text from the file, localize it, and bring it back so that the exact placements, keeping the colors, animations moving along with the image, it applying everything. Sometimes if the text is placed statically into the image, we also applying the image-to-image translation and placing back into the Adobe After Effects file again, so it can cover the embedded text inside the images and the text elements of the Adobe After Effects files all at once. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is fascinating. You
Thank
know
you,
what,
Aziz.
Dave? I'm gonna resign as a moderator so that I can be a dragon because I have so many questions to ask. That's I really, yeah, I feel disadvantaged here.
We'll talk later. Yeah, not accepting that.
I'll get
You
to
know,
you later. Yeah, we'll
yeah,
discuss.
let's talk about that. Yeah, privileges of being a dragon, huh? Asking questions. Great job there by everybody.
Are you jealous, Dave? No.
No,
I
I'm
am
always sitting on
jealous.
the fence, Jane.
You're jealous. Okay.
I have
Always
so
sitting on
many
the fence.
questions to Aziz and everybody else. Yes.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let's move on. What do we have? Where are we going with that, Dave? What is the ultimate goal?
Well, brilliant. Today was a great session. We've had 2 other great sessions. Thank you all. It's a tough one. We know it, to fit into 3 minutes to get your ideas across, to answer the questions sometimes. So well done, everybody. And the dragons, I have a really tough time because they're the ones who will be doing the judging, just the dragons. So that's the 3 of them. Where are we all going? Well, the idea is for you to try and get into the PIC final at Local in Dublin this year. And that's going to be on the 10th of June in the afternoon, just in case you're wondering. And hopefully we'll see some of you there. And we will be coming back to everybody. The back end of next week, I think, is what we've scheduled for. So we'll indicate through the normal channels how that is looking. Remains for me to thank all the innovators. Great job today. Thank our dragons. Great job as usual. And wish you very good end of Friday and weekend, right, Marina?
Happy weekend. Yes. Look out for an email from us towards the end of next week. Thank you very much for sharing your amazing ideas. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.